Hi, I'm Brian Hibbs, owner of Comics Experience in San Francisco. The Comics Experience Graphic Novel Club, we pick a brand new book every single month. The whole staff votes on it. It's what we think is the best comic that comes out at any given month. Each one of them comes with a special signed book plate, and we also do these interviews with the creators. If you're interested in comics, in art, this is a great program, and we'd love it if you could join us. So click it through and join the club. Otherwise, enjoy the interview. So I'd like to welcome everybody back to the second half of our show here. The first part obviously was Ai Weiwei, and now we've got his co-creators of ZODIAC, fantastic book, right here with us. We have ELETTRA Stamboulis and GIANLUCA Costantini. Italian is not my first language. Welcome. I'm so glad to see you guys.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you very much.
Yeah, this is really both a beautiful book and also a really incredibly structured book, I think. It is a great example of what comics can do. And so my first question is always the same. Let me ask you, why comics? What is it about comics that excites you, that thrills you, that fills you with passion, that makes you want to do them?
Okay, let's start with Gianluca. So, because he's the master and I'm the craft woman, so I'm just the last part of the work. So,
ok, sì, perché il fumetto? Perché ho sempre amato unire il disegno con la parola.
He always loved to unify the lines with the lines of the words.
E ho iniziato le mie ricerche proprio con la calligrafia araba, le miniature, perché univano proprio il disegno e la calligrafia nella stessa modo.
He started doing his research in comics, working on Arabic calligraphy, because he was very fascinated by the way in which the words in the traditional Arabic calligraphy get a shape of images, and so he started studying this part.
E anche perché da ragazzo avevo dei problemi a leggere e i fumetti americani mi hanno aiutato a imparare a leggere insieme al disegno.
And because he had problems with reading when he was a kid, when he was a teenager in particular, comics, and in particular American comics, helped him a lot to start reading and start to be feeling comfortable with the text.
E quindi mentre facevo le scuole d'arte da ragazzo, sono cresciuto facendo sia pittura ma contemporaneamente leggendo solo esclusivamente fumetti.
So he grew up studying art. He did all his high school and then school of art after high school at university, and he was studying painting, but at the same time his main readings was comic.
Interesting.
So this is his part. Okay. My part is different because I'm not a drawer. I cannot draw. I never thought about drawing, but I was always fascinated from comics. I grew up with Mafalda, Kino's character, and I grew up with the traditional alternative comics. In my family, they were very strong readers of this kind of comics, political one mainly. And then I met him, and we started doing exhibitions together. Our first important exhibition was with Joe Sacco. And I discovered then that I could be able to use my skills in writing doing comics. because I'm a lazy person and I like to write, but not too much.
I understand. I don't have a lot of awareness of the local Italian comics market. How much of the material that's being produced is native Italian versus things being brought in from America, but also from, say, Japan and France and places like that?
I can say that there is a huge material produced in Italy. Walt Disney has a special hub for Europe in Italy. And there is some particular part of this production that is made for European audience, and it is made in Italy from mainly Italian creators. And Italy, it's a place of drawers like Gianluca. And we can say also that, and I would like here to say something more about this, it is also the place that after France, of course, and Belgium, has a very strong tradition, so strong that the first course of comics officially done at university for people who want to study comics was born in Bologna, and Gianluca is teaching in Accademia di Belle Arti in Bologna.
Oh, nice. Oh, very interesting.
Sì, l'Accademia di Bologna è stata la prima grande accademia in Europa ad aprire un corso di illustrazione e fumetto in cui uno si laurea alla fine del percorso di studi.
So you have Bologna, who is also the most ancient university in the world and in Europe, even if in France they say that it's Paris, there is this competition, but
sure.
Still, it is not a problem of 1 year to year, that they are both very ancient. And Accademia di Bologna started the very first course, university course in comics, in the end of which you have a real degree of comics, like literature or like this, because before there were, and there are still, courses, but they are not exactly university, It's,
sure.
Something
sure.
like...
Just out of curiosity, how many students do you usually...
Abbiamo 50 studenti all'anno.
Only 50 students can entry into the course.
E 25 studenti che fanno la specialistica.
And 25 have the opportunity of these 50, or anyway 25 also from abroad. Some of them are coming from China also. There is a huge group. 25 can attend the master course.
Interesting. Wow, that sounds really cool. How did you get involved with Weiwei to start doing this book?
Voi facciamo delle foto?
Sì.
We would like to show you some pictures, because
Please,
pictures
absolutely.
and images are for us more important than words.
Sure.
Okay, and so we can start from the beginning. Vai avanti. Gone. I would like to share this part of... okay. This is one of the first picture that Gianluca did of Ai Weiwei. It was during the refugees crisis in Greece. He was in Lesbos, and Gianluca is an activist who is working very hard through internet, through Twitter, which is X now, but still. And
we still call it Twitter.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and he started drawing Ai Weiwei's activities, and they exchange, links and information and picture, and Ai Weiwei started to share Gianluca's images, not only the one who Gianluca did about him, but in general, his campaign for human rights. So in this way, it was a friendship done through Twitter. And then in reality, when he was opening an exhibition in Florence. So when he was in Florence, he wrote to us and said, well, we could meet in person. What do you think about this? And we say, okay, let's go. And we went to Florence. We were quite, thrilled to be invited by a so important artist, contemporary artist. And when we were there, for us, it was just, an exchange of ideas or just, having a coffee together. But in the end of the meeting, she says to us, what would you like to do with me? And we were surprised because we weren't aware that he could be interested in working with us.
Sure.
And so we said that we could do what we can do. That means we could do a book in comics. And she says, oh, well, not bad as idea. It is not bad. I like comics, but I never thought about this. What would you like to tell about me? And I said, I don't know. I would like to say that your biography, the history of your life. But he was at that point already working on his autobiographical book. And he says, well, it is not interesting. Who could be interested in my life? We will think about it. And so everything stopped. After a year, quite a year, Jenny called us, his assistant, and he says, are you coming for instance, in Berlin to see us? I say, okay, we can come. And in Berlin, he says to us that he had a proposal to do a comic book, but he wanted to do it with someone who could trust. That means for him, us.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, send me a proposal, send me an idea of book. And you can see in this image, we did this selfie. This picture is the Berlin studio, Highway studio, the entrance. And we are into the studio. And in our back, there is a very famous work of ZODIAC series done by Lego. And when we did the picture, he asked Gianluca, sorry, what's your Chinese sign? And, I don't know in America, but in Italy, nobody asks, what's your sign? Well, you can ask if you want to try to kiss a woman, but not, if you are in a professional meeting. And I understood in that moment, that signs are so important for Chinese people. He was asking us who was our sign because he wanted to trust us, to know something more about us. So when we came back at home, I had this idea to work about Chinese signs because it is let's say, an important theme of the artworks of Ai Weiwei.
Sure.
But it is really important also to enter in a very fair way into Chinese culture, which is so huge, so thick, so heavy, so important, and we are so ignorant. We just know nothing about Chinese culture. So what was my real aim was, of course, telling main aspects of Ai Weiwei's life, but also telling something in some grains of knowledge about Chinese culture and anthropological aspects of this important country.
Yeah, and I think you did a really superb job in it. Is there more that you want to show in the artwork, or should we go back to?
Oh, well, this is a picture where we are discussing in Cambridge about the work we were doing together. This was the way we worked together. I was writing, and Gianluca was drawing. We can show. He sent us these Chinese comics.
We talked about that yesterday. With
him. Great. And so here you can see, the difference. This is the preparatory work, the draft, and this is the way of the final. Mm-hmm. So in the first phase of the book, I wrote the story, and Gianluca did the draft work just to see if the sequence was good, was working.
Sure.
And then Gianluca, of course, started drawing the final version.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I think you let's go back to just the two of us, will you? So that I can see a little better here. There you go. I was very impressed with the way that you balanced each chapter, finding a very specific element of both Weiwei's life and of either the political or the cultural life of China itself against each of the zodiac signs. And I wonder, on the writing end, how difficult was it for you as an outsider to be able to distill the meaning of the zodiac sign and then matching it to those two disparate elements?
Mm-hmm. When I started writing comics, I decided to give to me a very strict way of working on sceneries. My inspirational, let's say, guru is Italo Calvino, who is an Italian, very important writer, who was very keen on structure of books and how to use, external elements to build up new mythological or fantastic storytellings. This could sound strange because me and Gianluca, we are always working on real stories. But I don't think that nobody can tell the real story of a person, of a life. It's not possible. Every time we are telling a story, we are telling a myth. So we have to use these tools of mythological storytelling to let every reader find a piece of truth for him or for her, something that is connected with his or her soul. So in this book, I decided that there were 12 signs. So every chapter is of 12 pages. Mm-hmm. In 12 pages, there is one political theme, one topic, because this was very important for us and for Ai Weiwei to give also an ethical message. And at the same time, I wanted to have some fiabesque, something that give to the reader the idea of the art mind of a very important contemporary artist.
Yeah.
And all these elements or these gradients are worked in using Aristotle's principle of storytelling. That is, one place, one time, one story. So in reality, the story takes place in very few days. That are the days before Ai Weiwei decides to leave China.
Sure.
Which is, a little bit the before line, the no way line. Mm-hmm. Should I stay or should I go? As they say in the very famous song.
Yep.
So these are the elements that helped me in this magma of important elements.
Yeah. When it came to Weiwei's life, you had him as a primary source. You could, and he was working on his memoir at the same time, I understand, or it already existed. But when it came to the political and social aspects of China itself, how did you know what to pick? I suppose is my question. Did Weiwei suggest elements to you, or was this just studying on your own? Or because you've got 4,000 years of history to potentially look at.
Exactly. You catch the point. Ai Weiwei is an amazing inspirational artist because he is so clever to find a way to inspire you without telling to you what to do. So when we were discussing, special topics of the book, he never gave me the answer. Yeah. Not even one time. He was changing, the topic of the argument I was asking him.
Yep.
And in the beginning, for me, it was a little bit confusing. I was afraid in GIANLUCA in particular because, drawing is a hard work. And every time he said he was afraid of, if he comes after 40 pages and he says that it is not good, I will suicide, because 40 pages, it is a lot of work. Yeah. But it never happened, to be honest. Just in the end, there were some little correction, he decided to give just to protect some people that are represented into the book. So there are some points where we change some faces, some aspect, but that's all that I can say. Otherwise, Ai Weiwei is, and also I have to add something very important. I read his book, his biographical book, when I finished my work. Mm-hmm. And he never told me the story as he put it in the book. Yeah. So I didn't have this important source, but I think he did it he was very sure of his way, because if I had read his book before, for sure, I couldn't do without it. I mean, it would be a translational work of biographical book into a comics book. And we wanted to avoid this solution, both of us.
Yeah, no, and it very, very much isn't. I mean, I haven't read all of 1,000 Years. I've only read, I think I read the first 2 chapters when I was doing a little research for it. But the structure is completely different. And, again, finding the elements that, a pig has these characteristics. And so this is the story that will fit with the pig part. I just thought it was very skillful and sensitive. I'll say it again. I'm very, very impressed with the script that you were able to provide and to distill his life into 12 segments. It's a very good magic trick. You did a very, very good magic trick, my friend.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah. It sounded like, and maybe I'm wrong here, that Gianluca, you were working on the art as she was writing the script?
Tu disegnavi mentre io scrivevo la sceneggiatura?
Yes, sì. Lei lavoravamo a pezzi, man mano che scriveva io disegnavo, ma non c'era un'intera sceneggiatura pronta. Solitamente lavoriamo in questa maniera, andiamo avanti contemporaneamente perché io creo l'immaginario e l'Elettra poi continua a scrivere quello che avevo disegnato.
It is a way of creation that we normally and we use usually we are doing. We decided to do, and he had a part of the script and he's drawing, but at the same time I'm waiting him to finish drawing because I'm starting also from his drawing to continue the script. So it's this process helps us to let the images and the words be more connected.
Absolutely. How many chapters ahead were you in the writing to the art?
Quanti capitoli? No, yes, you are asking to me. Yes.
Well, one. It's fine.
One.
Just one? Oh, just one. Okay.
Just one. Yes.
Yeah,
just
very
one.
good. I suppose, I guess my question next is, what was your concern? What was your level of concern that you would have to rewrite or revisualize things in that process? Right? Because traditionally when one does fiction, at least, memoir is a little bit different. Real people are a little bit different. But traditionally when you do fiction, you write the whole script out so that you know that your beginning and your end are going to match up and that so I guess, how is that different with this memoir? If that makes sense.
Yeah. That's why I need a very hard structure from the beginning.
Yeah.
This is what helps to be sure that all the building will have very strong foundation. Because if you use this process without having a so clear structure, narrative structure, very easily you can lose your path and go somewhere which is nowhere in the end.
Yeah.
And so it's not our first book. We are working together since 2002, and so we weren't really upset with we weren't afraid of losing the narrative, structure. What we were afraid of was not to be able to be kind, to be near Ai Weiwei's vision. Betrayal of the main character is what normally in a memoir, in a biographical book, for me is the worst you can do, Until now, we did biographies of dead people. So nobody could come and complain.
Sure.
Gianluca did also Julian Assange biography, who is still alive and he has a very complicated life at the moment. But it is a book who is telling Julian Assange life before becoming the big enemy of US and being, arrested and so on. But working on people who is still alive, it is not, easy. Yeah. And in particular, if it's a main important artist like Ai Weiwei, and a person that we love also,
Oh, sure.
As a friend, it is also a friend, let's say.
Yeah,
So.
no. I mean, that absolutely comes across in the work. I suppose what my question really was, and this is really more for Gianluca, that you had an outline, right? You had an outline that's chapter 1 is this, chapter 2 is that. I understand that. But when you're drawing the book, and you don't know how it's going to be received,
e non sapevi come sarebbe stato ricevuto.
Were you afraid as an artist of, oh, I've done 40 pages and then he's going to go, I hate all of this, you know, I have to start over again.
Come potevi comportarti essere un artista rispetto a questo?
Ma la cosa più complicata all'inizio è che non mi era mai successo di dover lavorare, di creare una storia con un artista che ha il suo mondo, la sua visione dell'arte, del disegno e della rappresentazione. Questa era la cosa più difficile all'inizio da affrontare.
Of course, the most difficult aspect was that it was the first time for me, and maybe the first time for comics, that I had to deal with a great artist, with an artist who was giving to me the opportunity to be an artist, but he has his own vision and I have my own vision, and everyone has his way of representing reality as an artist.
E all'inizio Ai Weiwei mi ha dato come esempio un paesaggio di un disegno cinese antico e mi ha chiesto di briefarlo.
In the beginning, we started the first page. The first page of the first chapter starts with a landscape, which is taken from a traditional and very important masterpiece of Chinese art. So Gianluca had to redraw this landscape. It's like redrawing. For a Chinese person, it is like redrawing Mona Lisa, just to understand the importance of this landscape. And he had to redraw this apparently very simple landscape. How many times? 10, 15 times. Wow. And every time there was a very, small detail to change, which for us, it means nothing. But for different cultural eyes, it means a lot.
E da quel disegno si è capito, e poi lui me l'ha detto direttamente, che non voleva dei neri nel fumetto, voleva solo la linea e solo l'intreccio delle linee.
And so from that very first drawing, he let Gianluca understand that he didn't want any black part. He wanted just the lines and in a very light way.
E, dopo queste prove, quando lui ha detto che andavano bene, non ha mai più detto nulla sul disegno.
After this test, let's call out these very first pages, he never say nothing more about drawings, but just about text. Sentences or,
Corretto più il testo che il disegno.
Yes. For him, it was more a matter of the text, of the people that were represented, but not of the style. We find the way to balance the style, and he decided that it was okay.
Yeah. No, that's really fascinating. It's almost like he's setting the rails of a train, and then once the train's moving, then that's fine. You know what you're doing.
Sì, e comunque quando un artista di questo livello ti fa sempre tanti complimenti, poi l'ego esplode, quindi crei sempre di più e lavori sempre di più.
Yes, and when an artist of this level always give you compliments, your ego becomes more big and big and big, and you become very productive. This is the real secret of this relationship.
No, I understand. I'm intrigued that the idea for no to little black ink was Weiwei's idea rather than yours as the artist, Gianluca. Was that a major change for you for how you approach a page?
Dice il fatto di non metterci neri, quindi è stata una scelta che mi sorprende, quindi una scelta di Ai Weiwei, e per te è stata una scelta molto importante che ha cambiato il tuo stile?
Sì, è ha cambiato proprio completamente l'immaginario di questo libro.
This choice changed completely the imaginary of this book.
Perché ha aumentato molto di più il dettaglio, la ricerca dei particolari di ogni disegno.
Because in this way I had to look very carefully to be precise in the details of every picture. It is all very, very detailed.
Yeah. I also wonder, because it seems to me that a lot of the way that the eye tracks a comic is in black and in the shapes of the black as much as the line work. Would you agree with that broadly?
I didn't catch the question.
Okay. So when you lay out a page,
quando fai layout,
there's panel to panel transitions, but also the eye takes in the whole page at the same time, right? You don't, when you read a comic, you don't just, I'm looking at panel 1 and only at panel 1. You as a reader, like, you see the whole page as a unit before you start breaking it down. And it strikes me that a lot of the way that the reader decodes a page is through light and darkness on the page.
Quindi dice praticamente il modo con cui uno decodifica la pagina è una sorta di va sul nero, no? Invece in questo modo è come se tutto fosse una decorazione.
Sì, infatti poi anche non c'è l'interstizio tra le vignette della prima volta che lo facevo.
It was also, in fact, the first time that I decided not to put a space between the single frames.
E questo ha creato come cioè diventa un'unica grande immagine, le immagini si uniscono nel intreccio.
And this is a way that helps the idea that it is a pattern. The page is like one page, and yes, you can catch the different frames, but it is one page. There is no space between the first frame and the second frame.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What we would call the gutter.
Okay.
Yeah, the gutter. It's funny because I strongly think that much of the magic of comics, because comics are magic, is in the gutter, is in that blank space where the audience has room to take a breath between the first image and the second image, and then draw the conclusion in their mind between those two things. And not having the gutter has an interesting effect on how you read the work. I don't know that I have the language intellectually to say whether it's better or worse, but there's definitely a different feeling when you don't have that space.
Yes, this is Will Eisner idea of having I understanding. Am I understanding of having this space between? You have to put your idea of story. Yeah. Quindi lui dice questo buco che c'è non narrativo per me è una delle cose più magiche del fumetto. Mettere così vicino le immagini non rende il fatto che il buco un po' scompaia?
Sì, infatti il motivo è dato proprio perché l'interstizio dà il tempo da una vignetta all'altra che uno decide. Qui obblighi a unire subito lo sguardo alle altre vignette.
Yes, it is a way that I'm trying to ask the reader not to put a blank, not to put a space, not to put a place where you could fill with what you want, but you have to put your eyes and continue the reading of the image in the same space.
Yeah.
So it is something that I decided to do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I also generally think that the storytelling of comics, panel to panel, is as much about subtraction as it is about addition. In other words, as an artist, you're trying to find sort of the most perfect distillation of a thought or an image before you move on to the next one. Would you broadly agree with that as a statement?
Dice, io penso che il fumetto sia interessante perché è una sorta di distillato in cui è più quello che togli che quello che metti, e quindi tu quando lasci un'immagine passi all'altra, no? Passi da un distillato all'altro. Tu sei d'accordo con questa definizione?
Sì, sono d'accordo, però ogni libro deve avere il suo tempo, come nella musica, e questo libro doveva essere un'immersione nella cultura cinese, nell'immaginario cinese e nella vita di Ai Weiwei. Quindi non volevo, cioè è un po' da dittatore, non volevo guidare l'occhio nella storia.
Yes, I agree with you, but I think also that every book, at least in my creation, every book is different because the story is different, the topic is different, and the mood is different. It is like doing a record. It is like music. You cannot play all the time the same music. The music of this book needed to be a Chinese music somehow, and needed to be something that helped the reader to enter completely into this different culture, this different work, and in particular into Ai Weiwei's mind, which is another universe. Mm-hmm. So I worked like a dictator, trying to find a way to move the reader in this path, in this railway, as you said before.
Yep. No, very, very good, very good. I like that answer a lot. There's a fair number of panels which appear to be actually taken from photographs, like very specifically from photographs. What percentage were you working from a photograph, and what percentage was just from your imagination?
Che percentuale è stata presa da foto, che percentuale è stata presa dalla tua immaginazione? Perché si vede, cioè...
Sì, c'è moltissima foto, perché dovevo ricostruire un mondo che non conosco, quello cinese, e renderlo vero dentro un libro. Quindi fortunatamente Ai Weiwei ha archiviato tutta la sua vita da quando è ragazzo con la fotografia.
Yes, it is true. And I worked very hard and very extensively with photos, and thank God, Ai Weiwei started to file and to having an archive of images of his life since he was very young. So I had the opportunity to access to this archive, and also I had the access to a big archive of images about China. And I have never been in China. I had to recreate all this part of the world, all this geography. When we was working, we were asking, how is a toilet in China? We just don't know because we have never been in a toilet in China. So there are all these small kind of questions that you ask yourself when you are telling a real story. And you cannot be, you cannot tell lies, because everybody could easily understand that it is not true or it is not, quite true.
Sì, comunque quando si ridisegna anche una foto, il disegnatore decide che cosa prendere di quella foto. Quindi quella foto il disegno diventa tutt'altra immagine dalla fotografia che è stato preso.
By the way, we can say that when you redraw a photo, you are creating a new art because you decide what you have to take and what you have to throw away of this picture. So it is something completely different.
Yeah, no, very much so. Was there a challenge in terms of photo reference, particularly for China, not Weiwei's life, because as you say, he's documented his own life fairly extensively, but for the more mundane parts of China, because China tends to be very, I suppose, private about what it lets out onto the internet. Was it difficult to find sources?
Immagini perché i cinesi non mettono tutto su internet e
No,
quindi...
sì. La difficoltà maggiore è stato nell'infanzia di Ai Weiwei, in quanto quando era nel deserto, quando parla delle case dove vivevano nelle grotte, nella terra, non esistono foto di quel momento di Ai Weiwei, quindi non esistono fotografie di questi momenti e quindi lì è stata molto difficile la ricostruzione. Poi invece quando si va nell'odierno anche i cinesi mettono tutto, è anche troppo.
It was difficult to draw the first part of Ai Weiwei's life because during Cultural Revolution, of course, there are not so many pictures, also about the US, I mean, but in particular, there is no pictures of the desert and of the places where he lived during the exile of his father and of his family. So the reconstruction of that part of his life was very hard, very difficult for both of us. I read a lot of novels, of Chinese novels, and I tried to figure out from the description in words what they were describing, because there is a literature now of post-traumatic generation that is telling somehow the story of the people that had this experience. We found some pictures, but that part is hard. Now it is not the same because Chinese people is like us. They are putting all their lives into the internet and more of what you are expecting.
Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering it in terms of potential censorship and things like that, because as you say, yes, obviously people put their lives on the internet, but so many things seem like they're censored by the government before they make it to the internet, or, they're removed once they make it onto the internet.
Sì, perché lui pensava soprattutto alla censura, se c'erano momenti, però la storia di Ai Weiwei, poi potremmo dire qualcosa su Xi Jinping che stai facendo adesso.
Sì, va bene.
No, well, for this book, we hadn't this problem because there are no part connected to this aspect.
Sure.
And in the same time, I mean, Ai Weiwei's blog were censored, but we have the blog of Ai Weiwei in a book. So we have some part of the words. We have, of course, images of him being involved in his activities for human rights. So
Sure.
It wasn't difficult. Now Gianluca is working in a new book about Xi Jinping with a French journalist. For this book, there is the problem that you are mentioning. Because, of course, when you are following up life of political men in China, there is always somebody who is missing from a photo, and you don't know why.
Right. Yeah, no, that seems like it could be very complex. Let me ask you, Elettra, about some of the dialogue, right? Because you have his memoirs that tell you the sort of the factual things that happened, but in a conversation with, let's say, with him and his son Lao, how did you get the voices for that conversation, because obviously you weren't in the room, and I don't believe that he had written down word for, I said this and then he said that, and
this is completely fictional.
Okay.
It is fiction, but in the same time, to give I was not interested in, a normal dialogue between a father and a son. It is a mythical dialogue between a great artist and his son, who is the grandson of a great poet. So what they are saying is a mix of my imagination and also of things that Ai Weiwei told in interviews, and I wanted him to present these statements as phrases given to his son. So there are parts that are real. He really told these words, Ai Weiwei, but of course not to his son. Maybe, I don't know. I don't think so. Also because I know that Ai Lao doesn't love the public image of his father, which is something that you can understand because affected his whole life.
Sure.
And but in the idea of a father of the son and the son, it is very helpful in Ai Weiwei's story, because he is the son of one of the biggest poets of China. So it's like, an ancient Greek tragedy. The father to the son, and then the son became a father. So it's something very connected with the traditional storytelling.
Yeah, I thought that Lao came off especially good in the text. I thought he seemed so insightful. So that's great. Were there any? So Weiwei made some comments about the art. Did he ever make any comments about those kind of personal conversations between him and his son, between him and his mother, between him and his brother, those kinds of things? Was there any editing at that part?
Yes, he did some editing about some parts. Not in his. It is interesting, this question that you are asking, because thinking about this, he was more concerned about situations that were quite public. Not. It seems in the end to me that the personal dialogues for him worked. He never asked me to change the dialogue with his mother or the dialogue with his son. Never. But he asked me to change some small parts that were, for example, the dialogue with the journalist that is going to his house, having an interview with him. This was more for him, concerning somehow.
Yeah. No, I can understand that, I think. As a technical question, did you write the script in English or did you write the script in Italian?
No, I wrote it in English, which is not my first language, is my third language, and then was never studying English. I learned by myself. But it helped me because English is more simple than Italian and Greek. As a structure, is very synthetical. In Italian, we are Baroque. In Greek, we are prosastic. In English, you are good for comics because you can. And at the same time, helped me to be more close to the way, at least what I can understand, the way of writing Chinese poetry, which apparently is very simple. So I was, in this way, I couldn't be Baroque. I couldn't be use too many adjectives, I had to stay in very simple phrases because it is not my language. Yeah. So I was thinking about writing it in Italian or in Greek, I don't know, but in the end, it was more useful, more effective writing it in English.
And was there any outside editorial reading of what you were writing other than Weiwei? In other words, was your publisher reading the script and going, yeah, no, you don't want to say the word that way, that you actually got the idiom completely wrong?
I don't know. I mean, we had a direct relationship with Ai Weiwei. Some of his assistant was helping us, giving us information, sending us photos, or, they were very helpful in all this process. But at the same time, the final reading was done by the publisher, by Random House. But we don't know nothing about this. So I cannot say. And to be honest, it is not my problem. I was not able until now to read it again. So when I will read it, the final edition, I will tell you the truth, because now I don't know.
Well, I find it interesting, particularly because there's points where you're talking about a Chinese idiom, they'll use the language, but you're describing it in English, but you speak Italian. So that's an interesting little trick to make work. I like it quite a bit. Let's talk just a couple more things about craft. When you're writing the script, are you writing it as like a screenplay, or are you writing it as sort of what we would call Marvel style in America, where it's, okay, on this page, these 4 things happen? Or are you going, page 1, panel 1, here's what it is, here's the dialogue?
He is a dictator, but I'm too. Mm-hmm. So I decide what happened in every panel. Mm-hmm. And I'm writing the dialogue, and then I'm also writing things that you cannot see, but they are giving you the mood. Yeah. He is very thirsty, and he had a very bad day yesterday. So I need him to be very, very angry with his son. And now you cannot see this, but this helped Gianluca to choose the exact way to draw Ai Weiwei, his son, or what else. Yeah.
And Gianluca, the script is in English. So how does that
work? Intanto la mia relazione con Ai Weiwei è nata con un inglese di Google Translate.
Firstly, my relationship with Ai Weiwei started with Google Translate help in Twitter.
E lavoro tutti i giorni con persone che parlano solo inglese.
And I'm working every day with people that are English speakers.
Understood.
It is strange, but artificial intelligence is helpful in the end.
Yeah. It's not always right, though, is the only problem. That's why it's artificial. Elettra, how long roughly did it take you to complete the script?
We worked really on the book during the pandemic. We started in 2020 and in the end of 2019, but honestly, and we ended in 2021. 21.
Abbiamo finito.
Sì, 22. 22, yes, 2 years.
So for the full book, it took 2 years.
Yeah.
How just doing the script though? How long?
Well, it is going. As well as I told you, it is not. We are not working on the script and then on the drawings. So I finished a little bit earlier than him, but not so earlier.
Okay, so it took you most of those 2 years to write the script yourself.
Yeah.
And you used, I'm sure, as the artist, Gianluca, you used every day of those 2 years. How many pages a day do you typically draw?
Quante pagine facevi al giorno?
0. Una pagina ogni 3 giorni.
One 3 days for a page.
Okay. How much of that work in building a page is the thumbnails and the pre-visualization versus the actual execution of the final work?
Ah, questo è interessante. Cioè, quanto tempo ci vuole per fare la previsualizzazione e quanto ci vuole per fare il lavoro vero e proprio?
La ricerca o lo storyboard?
Non so.
No, in questo tipo di libri la cosa più lunga e complicata è, per una mia ossessione personale, è che tutto quello che disegno deve essere più possibilmente vero di quei luoghi, non so, se disegno una strada in Cina deve essere proprio quella strada con tutte le cose che ci devono essere.
What takes me a lot of time in this kind of books and of comics is that I'm obsessed by the research part. So if I'm drawing a street in China, I want that the reader could be able to understand which street I'm drawing. So the details and the research of the details are very important to me.
E per esempio la ricerca anche fotografica diventa talmente ossessiva che non bastava più la vita di Ai Weiwei, ma andavo a vedere tutti i profili degli amici, delle parenti, di qualsiasi persona che conosce Ai Weiwei.
È uno stalker.
Esatto, è uno stalker, per trovare sempre qualcosa di più che desse proprio l'intimità della sua vita.
So for me, I was so obsessed by these aspects that I was looking through profiles of Ai Weiwei's life, Ai Weiwei's parents, Ai Weiwei's relatives, looking, every picture they were posting like a stalker, because I wanted to enter in his intimacy.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. When you were working a chapter at a time, if I was understanding that correctly, did you thumbnail out the whole chapter before you started doing finished drawings, or did you work in a kind of a hybrid fashion? This is what I'm going to draw tomorrow, or the next week I'm going to draw this page, thumbnail, execution.
Facevi praticamente lo storyboard di ogni pagina, del capitolo. He was doing the storyboard of the chapter before, and then the final drawing.
So you basically broke it into 12 chunks, yes? That you did chapter 1.
12 pezzi, 12, sì.
Sì.
I assume, I could be wrong, I assume that's probably not how you normally would approach a graphic novel?
Penso che non sia la cosa normale che fai quando fai una graphic novel.
No, è una cosa normale.
No, it is normal to him.
Oh, really? So small chunks. You do your thumbnails in a small chunk, then you draw. Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because typically in America, most creators that I talk to say that they will thumbnail the entire book, all 100, 200 pages of it, in thumbnails before they even starting the pencil.
Yes, also in Italy it's like this.
Yeah,
it is. But we are, as I told you, I'm lazy, and if he has to wait for me, he can die. I mean, you cannot wait for me to end. But also, honestly speaking, this helps to have more ideas, because helps me to be inspired by his drawing and by the solution that he's giving to me. And at the same time, he is always, what is going next? What is happening? He never knows how the story is finishing.
Right. Right.
There is no spoiler part, of this.
Yeah.
Not even for him.
Yeah. Gianluca, how do you work? Physical, pen and paper, or do you do digital?
No, questo libro è fatto in digitale.
This book is completely done on iPad.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay.
E ogni vignetta è grandissima nel digitale.
And every frame, every panel is very big in the original digital version.
Big, like how big? Like 4 or 5 times the size, or?
Come se fosse una pagina ogni vignetta.
It is big like a page, like this. A4,
Okay. Okay. Wow. Is that well, I guess the question then is, do you, because you're working digitally, do you have separate stages for what we would consider penciling and then inking, or do you just do a final illustration?
Se fai prima la matita poi la china, o fai livelli, come lavori?
Lavoro con i livelli, ma non faccio la matita. But
he works with phases, with levels, but not with pencil, directly with the ink.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I would think, especially with this book, there's not a lot of ink anyway, so there's not that step as much. How about the lettering? Did you guys letter it? Was it someone else who lettered it?
L'hanno letterato Alce. He did the lettering.
Yes.
Very nice.
Il lettering è fatto dalla mia scrittura, poi io ho fatto l'ho impaginato.
He has a special lettering done with by hand, and then he did a digital version of this lettering.
So it's a font then.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's your handwriting, the font?
Quindi il font è proprio la tua scrittura. Yes, it is.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, no, the effect of it is very, very strong. Well, fantastic. As I said, I really liked this book a lot. I can't say it enough how much of a piece of craft I thought this was, and that I was very genuinely excited. Because a lot of times you read memoirs and they're, well, I mean, dashed off is the wrong word, but sometimes they're done very quickly, very haphazardly. But the level of detail and attention to the work, I think, is something you should be very proud of.
Dice, dovete essere molto orgogliosi del lavoro dettagliato. Brian, may I ask you which is your sign?
I was born in 1967, so that's all I can tell you. I've never.
No, you don't know your Chinese sign.
No. Because I'm an American, right? We the only thing even if we think about signs at all, it's the Greco-Roman. It's the monthly signs. I'm a Gemini. I can tell you that. I'm a sheep or a goat. Well, which one?
It depends on one of the month.
It's June. It's June. So yeah, probably the goat then. Yeah, it actually makes a lot of sense. I am kind of a goat. So, and you two, what signs are you?
I'm the same sign of Highway. Okay. So I'm a roaster.
Yeah.
And Gianluca is a pig, which is in English and also in Italian, it is not kind to say to a person, you are a pig.
You are a pig, yes.
But in China, it is considered a very good sign.
Right. That you're very loyal, that you're very dependable. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of the things I liked the most about this book. And it's one of the things I like about comics in general, nonfiction comics in general, is that it can really show you a world that you hadn't seen. You know, I think about really obvious examples like Meows or Persepolis that there's no other way that I would have read that story and felt those emotions as much. And it very much comes across in here. You again, you guys did a fantastic job of this. Is there anything else that you guys know of your work that will be coming out in America anytime soon? In other words, is there anything you would like to plug that might be coming up?
I think that Gianluca's book about Xi Jinping, which will come out in France in October, will be for sure, I suppose, being translated in English. So I think that it will come also in US.
Yeah, it's such a small percentage of European comics that get translated, and I would say if this is how many European comics are translated, most of those are French. Like the number of Italian comics are probably more like that. You know. Yeah. I run a store. We have a full range of things, but I'm not positive that I could name many more Italian artists than say Milo Manara. You know, after that, it's like, well, who? Yeah, so very, very little actually does get translated and brought over.
You have to know that we are colonizing France. Mm-hmm. So very soon we will come also in US. Don't worry.
Nice. Okay, and then my last question. I just like my first question. I asked the same last question of everybody. This is a series of interviews where we've done, 10 years worth, so almost 240 interviews of various people who do comics and comics work. And so I get a lot of people who watch these who want to make comics themselves, but who aren't confident in their ability, who aren't sure if they are talented enough or if they have anything worthy to say. So for both of you, what would be the piece of advice that you might give a young person who is interested in pursuing the arts and particularly comics, but is not sure about what to do? And this can be something practical. This can be something physical. This can be something spiritual. This can be something emotional. However you'd like to answer it.
Ma io ai miei studenti tutti i giorni cerco di insegnare a raccontare le storie, qualsiasi siano. Poi però più si diventa grandi, bisogna puntare un obiettivo su quello che proprio si conosce, su quello che si vuole raccontare ed entrare dentro quel mondo.
I always try to teach, to invite my students to draw real stories, to find stories that are inspiring them and starting from the real ones. And at the same time, I'm saying to them, start with what you know better.
E soprattutto quello che devono amare il disegno.
And they have to love drawing.
In tutte le sue tutti i suoi modi di essere, non solo nel fumetto, quindi disegnare sempre, amare proprio, rappresentare la realtà nel disegno.
And they have to love drawing in every situation, in every condition, and never stop drawing. I have no advice. The only advice that I have to say is that please read some comics before writing one.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Well, I really want to thank both of you for taking the time and talking to me about the making of this book. I very, very much appreciate your perspective, and because my conversation with Weiwei was was very sort of intellectual and not about craft, right? He in fact denied to me that he was an artist at all, which I thought was utterly fascinating. So to be able to talk to you as artists, I very much appreciate you taking the time from your days and doing this.
It was our pleasure, Brian, and we are going to come, I hope, very soon to your bookstores, because we were surprised in New York that there are no bookstores anymore. Yeah. This is so, sad for me.
Well, it's difficult to run a bookstore in America these days. I mean, not only is everybody looking at these all day long, right? But it's hard to run a small business, and unlike at least parts of Europe, the government doesn't subsidize bookstores at all. I know that, for example, in France, that all the bande dessinée stores are at least partially paid for by the government. But no, not here in America. Like it's sink or swim. When I opened my store, I've been here, I'm just about to celebrate my 35th anniversary. And when I opened my store in 1989, there were 27 comic book stores in San Francisco. Now there are 8. So yeah, no, I mean, yeah, it's a big change. I would love, and if you do come, please let me know ahead of time, because I would love to take you out, and you have to see our bathroom. Our bathroom is filled with drawings from all the creators from all over the world who have come to our store over the years. So yeah, absolutely let me know when you do that.
We have an appointment, Brian. We will see you for sure. Thank you.
Excellent. I love that. Again, one more time, thank you for this book. It was a very special book. It was a very immaculately crafted book, and I really value craft in a pretty exceptional way. So great job on both of you.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much.